For a small mercenary outlet, the Black Thorns are quite well fleshed out. They have their own sourcebook and 2 novels. But how good are these novels exactly? The first one is Main Event by James D. Long. Former Northwind native and ComGuard veteran Jeremiah Rose has one dream: creating a mercenary unit specialized for fighting against the clans. The quest to fulfill his dream will bring him to Solaris, Outreach, and finally Borghese at the border to the clan zone. But Intrigue will rear its head. Not everyone is on board to fight the clans, and a deadly conspiracy puts not only the unit, but the whole planet into danger. Sounds interesting, but sadly the book itself is rather meh. In my opinion, it is so far the most easy to skip, simply because there was not really a feeling of caring or interest towards the main characters. Jeremiah Rose and most of his mercenaries are not really likable or interesting. And to make things worse, the Highlander ex-ComGuard Solaris fighter Jeremiah Rose is a bit like a tiefling half-dragon vampire from Dungeons & Dragons. You know it if a new player comes and wants to have a super special character and simply mashes things together who are not really fleshed out and just are in the description to sound interesting. For example, the Highlander part of him is just handled in the first chapter and does not really play into the further story. It is basically removable. And the ComGuards aspect is also not really important. We get a very good description of the Battle of Tukayit from his perspective, which is, in my opinion, the highlight of the book, but besides that, nothing. He has no interesting contacts to the former ComGuard. He has not the standard Blakist mannerism. It's almost like the ComGuards were just another mercenary outlet. That's not really what a fan of the ComGuards wants to see in a book. And to make things worse, Main Event sounds like this would be a Solaris novel, but he only has a short visit to the game world, and that's over quite fast. So, also underselling this part of the story. In my opinion, it would have been better to reduce the first half of the book, where the Highlander, ComGuard, and Solaris points are handled, and to concentrate on the events on Borghese, who are actually quite good plot-wise. Because we have an intrigue that puts the complete mercenary unit at danger, and we can see some, planet-level politics in the FATCOM, which is something we haven't seen yet. But the biggest problem I had with the book are indeed the characters. They often simply act entitled and rude. For example, Jeremiah Rose is invited to have dinner with a stable master, and instead of simply politely declining, he thinks it's a good idea to insult the man. Later, the military unit is on outreach as guests of the Wolf's Dragoons. What is the best thing you can do? Yeah, you tell the technicians that Wolf's Dragoons are traitors because they turned against the clans. And if you present your character so smug and arrogant, and that's not really something you want to root for. It's also not that good that they face troubles and obstacles, but they usually disappear without effort. There are usually no consequences to their mishaps or stupidities. And there's something I have to mention. We never learn how Rose got his starting funds to equip the military outfit in the first place. I mean, the transport per dropship must cost something. The initial investment is also required, and we never learn how a simple ComGuard officer could make so much dough. So, as I said, the second half is better, and the backstabbing politics on Borghese are a good plot, but it is not able to outweigh the shortcomings at the beginning. Who should read it? As I said, many things are mentioned but not really handled. There are high points, a rather good description of the fighting on Tukayit, as already mentioned, the intriguing political situation on Borghese, which shows that there is some misinformation about the clans out there. Plus, it's always nice to shoot some Jade Falcons. What's also nice and good is that we see some lesser used vehicles and mechs. For example, we have a Charger, a Marauder 2, and a Mechbuster plane, which is quite nice to have them in the spotlight for some time. But sadly enough, that's altogether is not really enough to make it an outstanding novel. As I said, there are no real ComGuards, no real Solaris, and main event is altogether just false advertising for the complete plot. The one group of people who would take joy out of a novel are those who are really into mercenaries and want to read about the smaller outfit and how you can get a start as an Innosphere mercenary in the post-clan invasion time. But of course, we have a second novel. Maybe that's a bit better. It's D.R.T, also by James D. Long. D.R.T is the shorthand for dead right there. After finishing their contract on Borghese, the Black Thorns are looking for another opportunity to fight against the clans. They are willing to take a mysterious contract that brings them in the middle of the action. Literary. As part of a garrison on the Draconis planet of Walcott, they have that chance to strike. But complications arise, and a raid turns into a death trap. That is basically the story of the second big engagement that the Black Thorns had, and it starts quite interesting. We get a short mentioning of Demona Assis and the political situation in the Federated Commonwealth, which is just about 1.5 pages, but it's rather interesting. Yet, sadly, the characters are again selfish and entitled. For example, we can see the sister of Jeremiah Rose, the executive officer of the mercenary unit, Rhea Rose, how she gets into trouble on Outreach. She decides to sneak after an elemental because she thinks he was rude by not giving her way in a door. And of course, also this problem has no bad consequences for her. In fact, she meets 2 new potential recruits. Nice. Then a bit later, the dropship captain of the unit starts a fight with the ISF, which, if you know the Draconis Combine, is not a good and smart way to do. But are there really bad consequences for her or the Black Thorns? No. It's even a bit ridiculous because she always complains that she does not want to be a warrior, that she doesn't want to be in war zones, but eventually later is refused to operate in clan space, which would be a combat engagement. She's also completely sad, and it's such a drama, and she doesn't know what to do, and it's bordering to ridiculous, and it's really, really difficult to have empathy for such nonsense. The plot itself is solid. We basically see a military operation out of Walcott deep into clan space. What's a bit distracting is that there are many red herrings that are shortly mentioned but have no real payout. Who are just there to, bridge a page or make one chapter. For example, the guy organizing the mercenary operations on Walcott is an old commander of Jeremiah Rose. Interesting how many ComGuards went to other militaries and mercenary duty, but okay. And you think, is there a outplay? Is he a traitor? Is he bad? Nope, he has one scene and then that was it. Also, we meet a mysterious new dropship captain, and you ask yourself, will he betray the unit? What is his mystery? And no payout. That is a bit frustrating, but okay. As I said, the plot itself is solid. Who should read it? Basically, again, if you really are into mercenaries, I would say you can get this book as well. It gives a lot of details about the organization, about the basic small details of the daily life, quite fine. It is also a very good book if you're new to BattleTech and you want a later starting point. So if you say, I don't care about succession wars, I don't care about actual clan invasion, I just want to go in right for the, at the end, FedCom Civil War, you could take this book because it often explains small details, like what is a pirate point, how is a raid organized, and so on. And that's really something good. Of course, if you really love both books and for some reason you have a love for the Black Thorns, you should also get the sourcebook, which is of course a bit dated, but it gives you additional inside information and it allows you to have the same adventures on the tabletop like the Black Thorns have in the novels.